Hello, this is Larry at LarryRicker.com. In this video I'm going to go over how to speed up your home internet connection. If you like this video, click on the like button below. You can subscribe to my channel and check out my apps in the Apple App Store. They include Project Organizer Pro, Job Hunt Pro, Student Organizer Pro, Opportunity Organizer Pro, and Class Organizer Pro. Okay, one of the first steps when you're trying to optimize the speed of your network is to take your laptop or portable computer and plug it directly into the router. That's the router coming from Xfinity or whoever your service provider is. So you plug the laptop directly into that router and then you run a speed test on it. You could use the Google speed test or you can use the Xfinity speed test. The Xfinity speed test seems to exaggerate almost the numbers a little bit, but I'm sure that's because you're wired directly into their network, and those are the speeds you get directly going to Xfinity. But they're not the same as the ones that you'll get if you Google another speed test through Google or something. But just to benchmark it, find out what the maximum speed is you can achieve with a hardwired Cat 6 or Cat 5e network connector plugged directly into your Xfinity router device. Once you have that number, you're not going to improve on that at all. That's the maximum speed that you can get on your home network. But everybody in the house wants to have that speed, and that's the part that gets challenging. So what you want to do is a chain from one computer or from that router all the way to another place in the house, maybe a remote room or a computer in the back room. The weakest link in that chain determines the strength of the whole chain. So you want to optimize the speed across the entire network. Okay, one of the factors in as far as weak links in the chain is if you go through your house and you've already home networked it and you see one of these older routers, and I had a couple of them. These are Netgear routers. They're 10 100 megabit connections. So every one of these ports on the back has a maximum speed of 10 or 100 megabits. And if that's the type of routers you have on your system, you're never going to get above 90 to 95 megabits per second. Even if you have a gigabit service and when you plug your connection directly into your router from Xfinity, you're seeing 295 megabits. If you have one of these between you and the next computer, that computer can get a maximum speed of around 90 to 95 megabits per second. Because it's 10 to 100 megabits, it can't go any faster than 100 megabits. So you're not going to get the throughput that you're looking for. So first step, go out and do a little shopping and get yourself some gigabit switches. And you can just search for gigabit switches, gigabit routers, and you can get 4-port, 6, 8, 4, 8, and 16 port, 32 port, whatever you need. You can also daisy chain your gigabit router. So if you get an 8 port and then all of a sudden you think, oh, that's enough ports, I got 4 people in my family, we're only going to have 8 computers, and then you find out, oh, you need more connections. You can daisy chain another router onto the end of that, run a wire out of that. Now you have 7 ports because you're wiring one port out into the next router, and then on the next router you could have either another 4 ports, or you could have 8 ports, in which case you would end up with 7 more ports that you can add to your network and expand your network. So you can daisy chain that. Now when you're plugging your wires into the gigabit router, there's going to be 2 lights on the gigabit router, and they're going to be orange and they're going to be green. The green means that you're getting a gigabit connection. That means that you can go up to 1,000 megabits or 1 gigabit in speed. Now you're not going to get anywhere near a gigabit most likely, at least with the Xfinity service that I have that I was demonstrating earlier. You're going to get about 295 megabits maximum, at least with my current service. But I'm breaking the 100 megabit barrier, that's the point. So if you have a gigabit router, you can go anywhere from 100 megabits up to theoretically 1,000 megabits with that gigabit port. So like I was saying, there's an orange light and there's a green light. If you plug a wire in there and it's a Cat5 UTP wire and you get an orange light, then you're still limited to 100 megabits per second. But if you plug a Cat5e or Cat6 cable in there, then you can, and you get a green light, then you can go up to a gigabit, and you're probably going to get your 295 megabits or 285 or somewhere in that category, whatever you're getting at your router endpoint. Now, I wired my home house with networking cable, and when I bought it, I just thought, okay, well, I'll just get Cat 6 because I did Cat 5 in my previous house, and well, Cat 6 is newer, and so I just picked out whatever was available on the internet. I didn't realize the details of this, but I did okay because it turned out that I picked out a fairly good choice. There are two types of Cat 6, and this was purely by accident. There's Cat 6 UDP, and you see 23 AWG, and that's 0.57 millimeters. What that's referring to is the diameter of each individual of the 8 strands of wire that's inside the Cat 6 wiring. You want the 23 AWG because that's bigger. The higher the gauge, the smaller. So it was a higher number actually. You want the 23 AWG because that's a bigger diameter wire. Bigger diameter wire is like a big hose, and if you have a big hose, you can obviously pass more water through the hose, or a big pipe, you pass more water through the pipe. So similarly, a bigger wire will transmit more electrons through the wire more quickly, and as a result, you'll be capable of a higher speed. So each of the 8 wires has a 23 AWG gauge on it, and then it has that millimeter, or there's an inch measurement on it. You can Google it, read about it. But if you need that size. But because the wires are bigger in there, and they're going to be bigger than, say, a Cat 5 cable or Cat 4, the wires are actually bigger, and that other type of Cat 6, which is the home grade Cat 6, it has I think a larger gauge number and a smaller diameter to the wires, and as a result, it is more difficult. It's possible with a lot of twisting of the wire to get a higher speed through it, but you're gonna be unlikely to. I struggle with just this wire to always get a 1 gigabit connection through it. And the difference between two wires, I'll have two wires. I'll have one wire, and then I'll have the other wire. One will get a 100 megabit connection, orange light, and the other one will get the 1 gigabit green light. And they're both made from the same wire out of the same box. And it's certainly not the connectors. It's not this little or little blue part that's making the difference. It's the only thing that could be is these tips. And I had gotten some tips earlier, and I wired the whole house with these tips, these RJ45 tips. Well, there's Cat 5e tips, there's Cat 6 tips, and there's different brands. I originally got some from Radio Shack. Radio Shack went out of business, and I wish I could go buy some more of those because they worked really well and on green light on every connection. I went out and shopped and picked, since Radio Shack had closed, I went in a local store and I found some other RJ45s, and on those, when I wire them up, I do not consistently get a gigabit connection. Okay, so it can be useful if you have PowerPoint or Visio to diagram out your home network and think about ideas how to improve the speed. Now, one, I was kind of sketching out on paper. I redid it in PowerPoint here. So I was going over it with some of my family members, particularly my son, and we're looking at the network, and we wanted to get these 4 computers here up to the 256 megabits per second or 295 megabits per second speed, but we were having trouble getting the speed up. It was getting up to 275 or something, but it wasn't optimized to the absolute top speed. And my son suggested, well, you got this wire coming out of the main Xfinity router. It's going to a laptop. Well, this one gets 295 megabytes. And then anything that's routed into here, anything that's direct connected into here was getting like 295 megabytes. I had some laptops hanging off here, but these computers here weren't getting that highest speed. He said, well, why don't you take a wire, run it down. You got 2 ports on this Xfinity. Run one into this router, and then that can serve this piggyback into the second router, or piggyback into this router. But then take a second wire and run it out and run it directly to this router. And as a result, it would have less hops, because here it has 1 hop and then 2 hops to get to the Xfinity router before it goes and hops out into the internet. So just to show you what that was like, okay, so in this diagram you can see there's 2 pops off the Xfinity router here, and this laptop is no longer hooked in. It has to do a loop back from this router here. I could have added that, but there's a direct connection into this router, which I wanted to optimize the speed on these 4 computers. So as a result, because this one's 1 hop, so this laptop, for instance, goes 1 hop here and 1 hop here. So that's 2 hops, I guess, to get out to the internet. Whereas before it was going 1 hop. It was going 1 hop to this router, 1 hop here to this router, and then 1 hop here to that router. That extra hop causes latency on the network. So if you can think about those types of things and optimize your network to have the least number of hops to any computers that you're trying to optimize the speed for, particularly, depending on their purpose, need, or whatever, then you could make changes like this to improve your speed. So this brand new Cat 6 cable is getting an orange light, which on this 1 gigabit switch means that it's negotiating with 10 megabits or 100 megabits full duplex, and it's not negotiating with 1 gigabit, which it's a 1 gigabit switch. Now this green one right next to it is negotiating with 1 gigabit. So I think I'll take the tips off this one and put new tips on and see if I can get it to renegotiate again with 1 gigabit. Okay, this particular cable is a Cat 6 cable, but it's showing up as 100 megabits per second, and consequently I'm going to put a new tip on this one. I got these new tips from Monoprice. So far I haven't been that successful with them, but let me demonstrate how they work, because they are different than the other ones I've done in my other videos. So first thing, you cut it off clean, and then you put an end on it. I like to go about there. You're going to cut it anyway later. You strip the outer jacket, then you use the outer jacket to separate the strands, the 4 strands, and then you cut out these center points. So you take the jacket and you twist it around on these individual pairs, and that separates the wires. That way you end up with individual pairs. And obviously if they're tightly wound, it can be a challenge to get them apart. Okay, we don't want to bend them too much. The end goal is to get them straight. And we'll go for the oranges. Separate those out, and then the greens. Okay, so now we got our wires straightened out. got to get rid of the center core and the little string that goes with it, but you need to do it in such a way that you don't cut one of the pairs. Okay, make sure you still have 8 wires. Now, you can do any order in which you want with the colors, but you just have to be consistent, and you have to do the same on both ends. It looks like I didn't unravel the greens, or they coiled back up again. Alright, so what I'm going to do is orange, 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 blue, blue, green, green, brown, brown. So, in order to do that, what you do is just kind of twist the wires around until you get them in position where they're going to line up nicely. Obviously, from your view, it's going to be opposite, but orange, orange, blue, well, let's go with orange, orange, green, green, blue, blue, brown, brown. As long as you remember to do the same thing on both sides, it doesn't matter the order in which the wires end up. Interesting about this system, it's a 2-piece. It's supposed to accommodate the larger wires inside of a Cat 6, larger gauge. You line up the wires, and then you put them into this piece, and then this piece is going to insert into the other half of the RJ45. So that's the other half of the RJ45, and this piece is going to go in there. So you put these wires, I want to get them straight. You put this butt end here, you put the wires in the holes on this side, and they come out in these side with the cracks, and then this side has to be up so that the pins can get inserted. And then you slip it over the wire. Take a look here. Okay, that looks right. So now you can see the wires are going through there. You've got light orange, dark orange, light green, dark green, light blue, dark blue, light brown, dark brown. And you just slide them through. And you scrunch this all the way up against the ends. Push it down as hard as you possibly can get it to go. All the way up against the end. Then what you're going to do is cut this excess wire off. You end up with a nice, clean, straight cut with all your wires. And then the next step is to take that and then slide it in. Now you're always working from the back side of this, not the end with the push tab on here. You want to work from the back side. And then that side is up, and then you slide it in and visualize your thing. Now, it needs a little pinch to get it through this part right here because it's got a bigger jack than fits in there easily. So you just pinch it a little and push it in, and then you push it up there as hard as you possibly can. Shove it way up in there really hard, and then you want to look at the end over here and see that all the wires are roughly right up against the edge. You want to see light, 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 light across the bottom, and dark, 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 dark across the top. And then push it in real hard, and then crimp. One tip done. Now you just got to do the exact same on the other side. Orange, orange, green, green, blue, blue, brown, brown. Let's see if I can do this one faster. kind of rotate it around until you kind of get them roughly in the same order that you want to pin out at. So might be facing the side that where the orange and the brown are. You can also twist them without the jacket like this. Green, green, blue, blue, brown, brown. Then you kind of scrunch them together. Get them to lay flat, kind of pinch them. Try to work them out straight, kind of comb them until they're all straight. And scrunch them together, make sure they're still in the right order. Again, the fat end here, pushing them in there, and they side with the grooves on the top. Kind of work them in. And as you start to get them in there, you have to visually look at them and see if they're coming in on the right order. Light orange, orange, light green, green, light blue, blue, light brown, brown. Then you push them all the way back as hard as you can until they're in there real good. Verify your colors are all in order again. Not a bad idea to pull up the other side, put it side by side, compare your colors, they're all good. Then take it and cut them off. Okay, so then we'll work this side in. And again, you want the flat side here, not the side with the pull tab on it. And you always work from that side. Then you push this in as hard as you can. And then you want to visually look at the end and see that you've got all light on one side. See, the one goes up and the other goes down. So every other pin goes up or down, and that's how they squeeze so many pins in so tight with such a tight clearance on the RJ45. So one pin's up, one pin's down. Kind of look at it, visually see that they're all up against the end. Give it one good hard push. And then you go for the crimp. Let's see if I can show you a little different angle on that. Goes in here. And then you squeeze. Okay, then comes the all-important step. You test the wire. Then you flip it on, and you see if you get one pin after another in order. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we got a good clean wire. All the connections are in the right order for a straight through cable, and they're all connecting. If it was a crossover, these lights would light up in a different order. It would be like one, and then it would jump around a little bit, but they would have to all still hit, just in a different order. This is a straight through, which is typically what you're going to need for wiring your house. So now this is a Cat 6 coming through here, going up here, and coming around to here. And then that is lit up in green right there. That means it's connecting at 1 gigabit. Now if we plug this one in, and then replace this cable here, getting 1 gigabit speed.